Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. Day 2 of the federal government shutdown, and Senate Democrats are holding their ground and pointing the finger squarely at President Trump. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, who lost both legs while serving in Iraq, she had this to say about the president's cries that the Democrats don't value the military.
I will not be lectured about what our military needs by a 5-deferment draft dodger.
Tough words. Independent Senator Bernie Sanders is calling for the government to reopen as soon as possible, but he also says he will not vote for any government funding bill without a permanent fix for the so-called dreamers. And Senator Sanders joins me now. Senator Sanders, thanks so much for being here. Hours after the shutdown went into effect, the Trump campaign released a new web ad accusing the Democrats of being, quote, complicit in every murder committed by illegal immigrants. Take a look.
President Trump is right. Build the wall. Deport criminals. Stop illegal immigration now. Democrats who stand in our way will be complicit in every murder committed by illegal immigrants.
What's your response?
You know, it is really unbelievable and so sad for our country that we have a president of the United States who says such nonsense and such outrageous statements. What we are talking about here now in terms of the dreamers is something that is supported, I think, in a recent poll in CNN by 84% of the American people. CBS, 87% of the American people say that these young people who came to this country at the age of 2 or 3 or 4, who are now working, 20,000 of them are teachers, they are in school, they are in the military. Their legal status needs to be protected after Trump took it away in September. They need a path towards citizenship. That's not my view. That is the overwhelming view of the American people. And then you see a president put stuff like that on the air, trying to divide us up, trying to foment hatred. It is really sad.
A CNN poll also suggested that while the public supports a pathway for the dreamers to some sort of legal status, they don't think it should be tied to funding for the government.
Well, it's not just the dreamers that we're talking about. Let's be clear. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. This is the first time in the history of this country when you had one party controlling all 3 branches of government that there has been a shutdown. These guys, especially the president, are apparently incapable of governing. Listen to what the military, what the Department of Defense said just the other day in terms of the fact that we have not had a budget for the entire year. We are a $4 trillion government. We do not have an annual budget. This is from the Pentagon. We have been working under a continuing resolution for 3 years now. Our current CR expires tomorrow, January 19th. This is wasteful and destructive. We need a fully funded fiscal year 2018 budget or face ramifications for our military. End of quote. This is the military. They cannot continue to go month by month. I represent a state, Jake, where 25% of our people get their primary health care and dental care through community health centers. They have not been funded in 3.5 months. 10,000 people died last year because the Social Security Administration is not adequately funded and not able to process claims. VA has 30,000 vacancies.
10,000 people died because of the claims?
People who have disabilities, Washington Post story, put their claims in. And while they are waiting for their claims to be processed much too slowly, they died.
Okay, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the correlation is not causation.
The correlation is that the Social Security Administration is grossly underfunded and understaffed, can't do the work that they are assigned to do.
So let me ask you a question. In the White House briefing Friday, Director Mulvaney, who we had on the show earlier, he quoted you criticizing Republicans shutting down the government because they didn't get their way in a policy debate in 2013. Take a listen to what you said was the Republican mindset back in 2013. This is you.
What they are saying to the American people tonight is, well, maybe we lost the presidential election. Maybe we lost seats in the Senate, lost seats in the House. It doesn't matter. We can now bring the government to a shutdown, throw some 800,000 hardworking Americans out on the street, and we are going to get our way no matter what.
So Director Mulvaney is saying you're a hypocrite, that you were blaming the Republicans back in 2013 for what the Democrats and those who caucus with the Democrats are doing today. You don't get your way, and you're shutting down the government.
First of all, what they were doing back then, as I think Mulvaney acknowledged on your show this morning, is they wanted to repeal Obamacare. Obama was the president. You know what? Obama was not going to repeal Obamacare and throw tens of millions of people, allow tens of millions of people to lose their health insurance. But let's be clear now, and I know people are sick and tired of the blame game, and I understand that. But here is the reality. It takes 60 votes in the United States Senate to get anything done. The other night, Mitch McConnell walked onto the floor of the Senate, and he knows the rules better than anybody. He did not have 60 votes. He barely had 50 votes. When you're in that situation, Jake, what it requires of what we should be doing is negotiating. All right, he doesn't have the votes that he needs. Let's sit down and talk. And by the way, we can move very, very rapidly. What I want to assure the American people is there a lot more agreement on this stuff than people think. For example, we need to adequately fund the Department of Defense and obviously non-defense spending. We need to deal after 4 months with the fact that we have not yet done disaster relief. There are tens of thousands of people in Puerto Rico. People are in Houston, Texas, who are still hurting from those hurricanes. How come the Republicans were so quick to move forward to try to provide huge tax breaks for billionaires? They addressed that issue in their tax bill. Healthcare, they wanted to repeal Affordable Care Act, throw 32 million people off of health insurance. Why can't they provide disaster relief for the states and territories that need it?
On the immigration issue, would you be willing to vote for $20 billion in appropriations to build a border wall in exchange for, you and the Democrats are in the minority, in exchange for a pathway to some sort of legal status for the Dreamers? Is that a compromise you're willing to make?
It's something, look, I think the wall was a great idea in the 15th century when the Chinese built the Great China Wall. I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense now, but I'm willing to sit down in a room and do what the American people want. And what the American people want is to provide legal status to the Dreamers and a path towards citizenship. Let's sit down, let's do that. But that has to be passed. Let me say this. If we allow Trump to get away with what he did, and that is repeal the executive order on DACAs, and if these 800,000 people, young people, are subjected to deportation, this will be one of the ugliest stains in the history of the United States. Young people who know no other country than this country, who came here at 2 or 3 years of age, to now be subjected to deportation would be a stain that this country would never recover from.
Senator Sanders, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says his party will not vote to reopen the government until his policy demands